right. Welcome back to Triple B, where we are Black, beautiful, and brave. I'm Candy.
And I'm Ayana, and we are glad that you've joined us today to discuss the topics that we find most interesting as Black, beautiful, Christian, single women.
Yes, and if you are watching us from YouTube or on Spotify, because you can watch us on Spotify, we ask you to like, subscribe, and share our channel with or this episode with friends or family or anyone you know who may find these topics interesting. So right here, we're showing on this ticker button right below Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, because you can watch us on Spotify at Black, Beautiful, and Brave Podcast. Follow us. Also, leave us a message. We're going to start off. We're going to say it at the end as well. Here's our phone number. Give us a call. Leave us a message. We've gotten some messages already, and we have one that we're going to share with you today. So don't be shy. We actually would love for you to leave a comment. We only have about 2 people who normally give us comments.
And we appreciate those comments, by the way.
We do. We do. But then we have many more comments that come directly to us. And we're like, just put it in the post it in the video. So that other people can be part of the conversation as well. Because we don't always get it right. We're just sharing our opinion. We're not saying our opinion is correct, but we would love to hear other voices on these topics.
Yes.
And so today, man, I can't believe it. We are at the end of chapter 2.
Yay.
Yes. End of chapter 2. We've come a long way, Ayana.
We have. From the original vision to where we are now. And hopefully everything that you are hearing has been helpful to you, because it surely has been helpful for me personally. Yeah. And hopefully we're not just venting, but hopefully we are sharing stuff that you connect with.
Absolutely. I hope we're not venting. No, we're just sharing our thoughts and opinions and our experiences, and feel as though that they in conversation with each other and some of our friends, they've been helpful. And so hopefully you have found them to be helpful and beneficial as well, especially with all of our guests that we had this chapter. I was going to say season. In this chapter, we had plenty of guests. So we're going to go over. This is a review. As you can see, the title, Chapter 2 Review before the exam. No exam. Just kidding. But let's review some of the episodes that we had in Chapter 2. Ayana, let's go ahead and get started. I think we came out with guns blazing.
That's right.
Talking about celibacy and it's the lie of celibacy, or what was it, the celibacy lie,
and is marriage the goalpost? So this idea that
marriage,
that if you keep yourself pure, if you go to church, be a good girl, that you will get married one day, get a husband, get a good Christian guy, and almost live happily ever after. Right? So we talked about that. I know people give us responses. Like Candy said, we get a lot of off-camera, online responses, people's views. And we felt it was something we needed to talk about, especially for us as women having lived through that experience. And for the younger women who are hearing this and who are also, we don't want to say believe in a lie, but we also want them to know this is something that exists very much in the church.
Yeah. I know I want to, I guess, make some corrections or just make my viewpoint clearer. Because I did get some comments about this particular episode as if, I'll speak for myself, as if I come across against marriage. And so I'm not against marriage.
Right.
I think it's a beautiful thing if someone were to get married and get it right? And do it right. And so I'm not against the idea of marriage. I remember having a conversation with someone back and forth about the purpose of marriage in my
Mm,
viewpoint. So I support marriage.
mhm.
However, again, I don't believe it's the goalposts,
Yeah, yeah,
to say I have arrived, I have completed God's purpose
right.
in my life, right? And so it is to me an individual calling um to each person, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I think Ayana, we were in a car with some people not too long ago, and I think they were talking about our podcast too, right?
Yes.
And talking about marriage. And one of the things I think I remember saying is that, you know, individuals sharing the importance of Christian marriage and all of
Mm,
that. And I said, I hear the understanding, the perspective of, like, the church having a standard and saying, this is what you should have, this is what you should seek. And one thing that I said was that, well, if the church had it all right, why do we have, if not the same or higher, divorce rates,
yeah, yeah.
right? If we had the perfect prescription and we knew how to practice it well, why why is our rates of divorce um, at least 50%, and actually might be higher. I remember
Mhm,
reading and hearing that now marriage rates, more so among Black couples, are at 30% now.
mm,
And
mm,
so, the church got a lot of work to do if we think that we have the ideal way to do it,
mhm,
um, and
mhm.
that we could do it better. We just have yet to find that evidence. Let me say
Right.
we, I have yet to find that evidence. But it
Yeah, but
doesn't mean
part of that begins with telling the truth, though, and that's why we started off with this
Mm,
topic about, what has been told to our young women. And I definitely remember asking a couple of my male friends, like, did they have that understanding that as a young Black Christian male that you needed to be celibate before you got married? And they're like, no,
mm,
that was not necessarily told to them. It may have been implied, but it definitely was not something that was as clearly expressed as it was to the females.
mm, yeah,
Because we knew the
transparency.
message, we got the memo early.
Mm. Are you trying to say that it's the male's fault because they didn't get the message why we can't get it right?
I'm saying that we have, a leadership and a structure because you're asking about the church and the prescription. There's a structure that is unequal.
Unequal.
And we can blame it on sin and we say, well, the sin is the problem, and because of sin, the men didn't get the memo.
Mm.
Right? But the women got it,
We
right?
got the memo, but sometimes that memo, is it enough?
Right.
And sometimes it's not enough. It's
Mhm.
more, right? As
Mhm.
far as relationship
Mhm.
needs more to prepare people for marriage,
Oh,
not
yeah.
just not having sex. And we need to have
Right.
more of those conversation. And if the church wants to take a lead on that, there's deeper work that needs to be done on what it means to be in a committed relationship.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's so true. That's so true. So let's move on to episode
I know,
2.
we might end up having a whole episode 1 all over again. Yes, yes, yes. So you're absolutely right. What's episode 2?
God's will versus marriage. And we had 2 parts for that
Yeah.
one. And that one was heavy too. I think we got some comments on that one, right? Like
Yeah.
this idea of God having one person for you. And we've heard that. I know in
Mm,
some denominations there's even this idea of a soulmate. I don't think we
mm,
went into that, but that's not something necessarily that I personally subscribe to. Um,
mhm,
so this idea of you having to be married. And then
mm,
Candy had looked up some world stats at the time, looking at the ratio of men to women. And
mhm.
actually, in the world, we found that there are more men than women,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that was an interesting fact, especially for us women, because we always hear the argument that there are just so many men out there. So therefore, as a woman, pickings are slim, and therefore you have to accept whatever is in front of you. And as you know, sometimes accepting what's in front of you is to your own detriment.
Mm,
And and Candy also looked up the statistics for the US, which was 98 men to women.
Yes.
90. And
Yes.
again, it's not 7-1, right? It's not 7-1. So again, this idea that you have to be married and it has to be at this place with this person, God's mind and thoughts are so much beyond our thoughts. God says higher than the highest thoughts are his plans for us.
So we have purpose, identifying your purpose, and our purpose may not be for marriage. I think that's another thing. I may have said that too. And people are like, "Why you're against marriage?" Those are two things that God instituted at creation. People say the Sabbath and marriage, he blessed, what have you. Yeah, it's great. But even with these stats that we have, not every female will experience marriage. Right?
And not every male will experience marriage as well.
Yes. And so, I remember the conversation I had with someone was more so, therefore, if a person does not get married, are they outside of God's will? Which I don't think that is true.
Exactly. Because if we think about even Paul, right? Paul talks in his writes about, he gives some advice to married people and to singles. And even then he says it's still his opinion to a large extent. And he did a lot of his work, moving along almost like a single person, So again, it's maybe, God's will for you may not be to be married. And I also gave my own personal experience. So, because again, it could be something that you're praying for, but it's not happening. So does that mean you keep on praying and asking for the exact same thing? Because you're saying, okay, pray harder, right? Or we say the acronym PUSH, right? Pray until something happens. But is it that God didn't hear us the first time that we prayed, that we have to keep on praying? Or is really the prayer about keeping us in God's will, making sure that we are doing what he wants us to do, which may at the time mean not being married?
Right. So you're saying that our prayer may need to sound and look different, not just asking for this thing that we desire, which is marriage. Granted, to say that, you should pray. God will give you the desires of your heart, right? But more so looking for God's will. Like, Lord, give me your will, regardless of what it is. And I think I remember mentioning that, praying for peace over, asking for peace as well when my wants are not aligned with God's will. But knowing that God's will is always perfect and that for him to supply and sustain. And so I remember having a conversation with someone afterwards too, talking about, I keep praying for it.
A lot of conversations going on.
And they're like, I keep praying for God's will for this. I want marriage. A young person, a woman, a young woman in her 30s. I'm praying for God. Why is he not giving this? And so I said, you know what, God, then don't give this in my heart. I don't want, if this is not the time, just remove it. And so I think that we have to also be careful about the things that we surround ourselves with that influence this desire for marriage, especially as we wait. Being careful. Are you in line? When you pray, it's not just praying to ask, it's praying to help change your heart, to change your posture. If you know this is not happening and it's causing you to be some way, feel a certain way, ask God to fill your heart or fill your life with something else that will bring you joy, that you are seeking, right? And so,
and he can do it. Of course he can. But so it's really about
contentment. That's what we're talking about. Being content. Asking the Lord to be content on where you are. Versus, I'm not gonna say you thirsty, but just seeing, when it's all in your face all the time. Marriage. Your friends are getting married. I had a young person who told me, but I felt like I did it right. I did the right things. And then my friends or people that I see who are online doing it the wrong way, they're getting married. But I've been praying, asking God for my spouse, and other people who didn't do it the right way are getting married. And so watching people um you need to where you need to be watching yourself because
And
what people
focusing on God, really,
Mm,
because again, if we look at people, there'll always be something to compare to. But God
yeah.
is saying, keep your eyes on me. Let me be your fulfillment, which sounds easy to say, but having lived through a lot of things, you're like, you know what? Because that just keeps your eyes going left, right, and you're like, well, how come they're doing this? How come they're doing that? It's like the evil people comparison, a lot of evil people prosper in this world, right? Whereas a
Mhm,
lot of Christians seem to suffer, you
mhm,
know. So does that mean that God is not there? Does that mean he's not
mhm,
answering the prayers of his people? What does that mean?
mhm,
But again, God knows. And the one of the biggest thoughts that struck me this year was this idea of making my wants my needs. I should want what I need. So wanting what you need
mhm.
means that
Okay.
if God has God's will for you is the need. But usually that's not what we want. So
Mm,
when we get to the point of wanting what we need, then we will be in God's will.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Because
All right,
sometimes
so we have to move along.
good stuff, though. I mean, it's like a whole 'nother conversation. And listen,
Yes,
guys, we
yes.
want you to be part of the conversation. Tell us what you're thinking. What are
Yeah,
you
yeah,
experiencing? I don't know. Maybe you don't feel too vulnerable by putting your information in the comments, but call us, leave them a message. Nobody will hear it unless you give us a permission to.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
next episodes. What do we have?
Are you lonely?
Are you
Do you need a man?
lonely?
Do
Ah,
you
that
need a man?
that was with
Ugh,
Brittany. We had our
Brittany.
first guest for that chapter 2.
Yeah,
Brittany who joined us, right?
yeah.
Are you lonely? And talking about the um the perspective of or concept of loneliness and singleness. Are they synonymous? And how
Mm.
at least I think what we define is no. You
No.
could be single doesn't mean you're lonely, you
Yeah,
know? Learning
yeah,
how to live a single life and not be lonely, but being
yeah,
active,
yeah.
having community around,
Mhm.
um, and so forth. So we talked about that, which was some great discussion, especially to get uh, I guess we had a Gen Z, a millennial, and a Generation Xer,
Mhm.
in the
So we had all the
conversation.
generations. Uh-huh.
Which was great, and we love that, that we were able to get all of those perspectives. And then, it all tied on, the previous topic about God's will and so forth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and let's see, next episode, we had, mm, what
Slaying
was
the
it?
dragon.
Slaying the Dragon. That's right. We
Yeah, we
had
had
that
2 episodes.
great poem,
Yeah.
and by Rebecca, what is it? Dupas? Dupas?
Mhm. Yeah. Shout
And
out to her. Great job. Wonderful.
great job. Even just watching it over and over
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
really is inspiring. And it is to remind us, especially women, about what we're all talking about, comparing ourselves to other people,
Mhm.
listening to what people are saying outside about who we are, where we should be,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
how we can internalize these comments and put those
Mhm.
pressures on ourselves.
Yeah. So we are our own worst dragon many a time, right? So we put ourselves down, we compare ourselves,
Mhm,
we have all these dreams and ideals which weren't really created by God for us. They were created by the society that we live in. And then when
mm,
we compare ourselves to these different models, then of course we'll never measure up.
mm.
And I remember first hearing the poem and I'm like, what is this poem Candy is playing? Like, what is she talking about? Who is this person who is making all this criticizing this person? And at the end, when she reveals it's herself, I'm like, wow, like, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
made so much sense. I mean, it was so heavy, but yet it was so real.
Absolutely. And I will always keep one line from her poem about having radical acceptance for God's will in my
Mm.
life.
But why
Radical.
radical acceptance? Because why can't it just be acceptance, right? So why does it have to be radical acceptance? Because it implies then that God's will seems to be so far beyond what we are intent on doing that it's like a total game changer. Like whatever you envision for yourself, where you'd be at 20, 30, 40, who you'd be married to, what house you'd be living in, what job you'd have. It's like
Mhm.
God takes that same thing and flips it on his head and gives
Mhm.
you that and more, but definitely not in the context that you thought it would have come. Not in the package that you
Mhm.
thought it would have been in, not in the journey that you thought it would have been. It's like I tell my
Mhm.
students all the time, when we see our lives, as a straight path, going like this. We're just walking down the road, crossing these milestones, making these achievements. But then our actual lives, it's like we're climbing a mountain, like we're swimming across a lake, like we're running over, jumping over hurdles, like we're jumping through hoops. It's like each time you catch your breath, there's something else to do. And it's
Mm.
not what we envisioned, because if we had seen that our lives would have been like that, we would be like, I'm not even starting this race
Exactly. You're like, "What? Again? Something
again.
else?" Ah! Even if you accept it, you're complaining. But
You're complaining.
radical acceptance is, "Hey, this is where we are. Let's
Uh-huh.
keep moving," right?
Yeah.
If something else pops up, a new challenge, all right, I'm moving forward with this new challenge, and
Mhm.
I know that God will get me through it versus
Mhm.
I have to try to figure it out myself.
Mhm. And part of that challenge is pain and loss. So whether it is a physical loss where someone you know is close to you dies, the loss of a relationship, which of course is like a death,
Mhm.
and Candy, you in your field, that's like a death, relationships, when relationships die.
Mhm.
And I think, when we are in the regular challenges, we're like, okay, something knocks you down, and like, okay, I'll get up. I'm gonna make it. But then that pain that comes with the loss of people that we love, that one really makes us sink even lower, it seems.
Mm.
Because there's some challenges that are mental. So you can say, right, I can work with that. But then the other challenges that are the ones that hit you in your heart, which is still your head, by the way. But
Mm.
if your heart is grieving, then it's hard to really make those first steps.
Absolutely, absolutely. All
Mhm.
right, next, we had our two-part series.
Oh,
This will get a lot of views as well, where we had our very special friend, Chris, join us
Chris.
on the
Yes.
topic of PTSD and
Yes.
contentment.
Yes. And Chris, if you're listening, shout out to you. Good job. Thank you
I
so much
mean,
for being a good guest and
wait,
really going with the punches.
he did good. We talked about, um what was it? PTSD and contentment,
Yes.
about singleness and about, are you afraid? Are you to be in a relationship? Are you experiencing PTSD? And there was a lot of things that Chris shared in giving us a male perspective, not the male perspective, but
That's
a
right. There's not.
male.
That's right. So we did get lot of comments because they're like, well, we're not quite him.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a male perspective about his own personal experiences.
Of course.
And so it was great.
Mhm.
We had the famous analogy of
The
the
tomato, the
tomato
tomato
in the
analogy, and we're like, where are we going
grocery
with this?
store. I knew where you were, Chris. I knew where you were, you know?
I was rolling with the flow. I was going with the flow.
Yeah,
You know.
about men choosing and how he decides and what he's looking for,
Yes.
and there are many men who have those same perspective that Chris had, which
Yeah.
is cool, and I think we as women, we need to hear that, we need to understand. Based on our previous chapter, in chapter 1, we talked about the a gender war, and so
Yeah.
we said that we're not in war with men.
Right.
We're
Right.
lovers, not fighters. And so we need to just more so communicate and get to understand our fellow men, and
Mm.
acknowledging that they too have experiences that contribute to where they stand, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Not to say that we are women are not saying that we're perfect, that all
Mhm.
women are perfect and it's just the problem of the men. They just can't get it right. But I think that we just need to hear each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
he talked about, again, he spoke from his own feelings, and we appreciated that. Um, I know for me, I talked about, my hurt and pains and
Mhm.
the importance to me of building a friendship. Um,
Mhm.
I know Candy for the most part was pretty cool until we got to the part about the kind of like ghosting and not giving an explanation for in a boyfriend
Yeah.
girlfriend relationship when you have a breakup. And
Yeah. Chris
um
was like, no, only in marriage. And what tripped me up, he's right, but he would say, I only have to give you an explanation if I got papers on you. I'm
yeah.
like, papers? That sounds so very archaic, but
Yeah.
meaning, we are committed. We have a
Mhm.
committed relationship. We've committed our lives to one another. We've signed
Mhm.
documentation,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so forth. Whereas um, even in a monogamous, just exclusive relationship, if you decide to change a different direction, he feels as though that you may not need to. I don't have to give you an explanation, as far as why, which I thought was interesting. But we did get another perspective.
We did. We
Yeah.
did.
And we got actually someone who left us a voice message. And
We're
so we
gonna
want
hear
to
that.
play it.
That's
Yes,
right.
we want to play that so you guys can hear. So this is going to first time we're trying to do this live during this recording. So here we go.
Hi. This is Addie. I listen to your podcast all the time.
Thank you, Eddie.
It's great. I just wanted to address the most recent chapter that was presented and the question that was asked about parting ways with someone that you've perhaps been exclusive with. My opinion is, I feel that if you have spent some time with a person, if you have invested quality time, if you invested resources, if you invested money, even intimate time, I feel like if you decide that it is time to part ways, that you are owed a courtesy to let them know why that is. Give them a reason. If we're talking about adults, if we're mature adults, I think it's important and appropriate to provide that with people instead of dropping off the face of the earth or ghosting them. Because it just says a lot about your character. It says a lot about your maturity and handling of relationships, and not being of the mindset of, well, I'm just going to, not being on the mindset of just letting that person know exactly how you feel. I think that's a way of just letting that person know that whoever decides to ghost needs some work on themselves. So I feel like it's very important to let that person know. I mean, if you're married, that goes without saying. However, if you have been exclusive, if you have spent some time with the person, don't do that, because if we're being honest, we wouldn't want that to happen to us. We may say as guys, we may say, oh yeah, I don't care, but I mean, we're curious, and the fact is we continue to move on without knowing. It just, I'm being honest, as a guy, it leaves a little bit of a void in there, just speaking out of experience and transparency. So I feel like if that has happened, if you decide to part ways, be adults about it, no matter how uncomfortable
That's right. No matter how uncomfortable, that's how he
Yeah.
ended, how uncomfortable it is. And
Yeah.
I did share it with Chris, and I do recall him mentioning leaving a comment as well. I'm not gonna play his comment, but I will share something that he mentioned, which I thought was quite interesting, is um that we pour too much into relationships and not
Mm.
enough on marriage.
Hmm.
So when we pour, so his thought, or what I understood, let me not speak for Chris, which I hear him and saying that we invest so too much in just getting to know someone, such as pouring too much money
Mm.
into a relationship. So it's like you invested in
Mm.
something, you want to return on your investment, right?
Mhm.
But don't invest too much, right? If you're just
Mm.
getting to know someone, I think it goes back to what you were saying as far as just being friends. If you're just
Mm.
friends, you're not spending too much. You're not whining and dining someone that I guess for Chris, that's how he feels, as if prior to marriage, I'm not whining and dining you. We're, doing things that are free, that things that if I invest this amount, I don't feel like I need to get a return. I don't have to. We're just doing this. I'm willing to lose this, right? I'm not going to pay for a Birkin for you, right? There's some people who have expectations. There are women who have expectations of, you going to pay this, pay that for me, bills and so forth, and we're just getting to know it, and we're not married. And so I think the perspective in some circles, that's could be an expectation, if we're
Mm.
exclusively dating, not married, that you have some financial responsibilities to cover for your woman. And
Mm.
in those circles, like, no, some people are just doing too much in that stage, and therefore, of course, we may feel as though we have put some investment into something that we would like a return, versus also thinking about long time ago, people didn't date too long. You saw
Mm.
what you like, and then you want to move forward. But when we date for long periods of time, now it feels like an investment. And therefore, if
Mm.
it doesn't work out, you feel like you're owed an explanation.
I mean, like, I feel like you touch on several topics there, you know. So the investment aspect, I can see that. But I think even if it's just about you being kind, though, like, the Bible says, do unto others as you have them do unto you. So I think even with a friend, because even when a friendship breaks up, you still say something, at least you try to. Because it's your friend. It's your friend. And you may not agree with their reasoning for the separation, but at least say something.
But
Um,
if a friendship just fizzles out, why do
hmm.
I need to come back and say something like, "Hey, our friendship is fizzled out."
Yeah, but if it's a friendship, ideally it wouldn't just fizzle out. Like, we're talking about, depends on the kind of friendship. Because again, if it's someone, because again, a friend is it's not a term you use lightly, right? If it's an acquaintance, that can fizzle out. Because that's someone who you're just
Yeah.
hanging out with for 2 seconds, and you're like, you know, no hard
And I
feelings,
and
you
I think
you
that's what dating is. These are acquaintances. These aren't friends.
well, you can't build on a relationship on everyone is an acquaintance though. So if everyone you meet is an acquaintance, then when does that become a friendship? And when does that friendship then evolve into something a little deeper? And I agree, you don't need to be courting for 5 years. I agree with that. And I agree also that the olden times, or the times before, you didn't go through all that process.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that there are some things based on the times that we live in now that would still
Mhm.
be appropriate. And at the
I
end of
want
the day, huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And at the end of the day, we are still Christians, and whatever we do should represent God.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking, when I thought about the different courtships,
Mm-hmm.
marriages that happened in the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, nowhere did it say they were friends. They just
No, it
saw each
didn't, but
other.
it wasn't.
Right. So you were
It wasn't the
acquaintances.
time, right? It
You were
wasn't the time. But
acquaintances.
now that's not how it is now, though.
Yeah, I understand. I'm saying you can
Mm.
still be kind and positive, but if we're acquaintances and it just, I'm not moving forward, and it's a natural fizzle out, we're not
Yeah, well,
friends.
I agree
right?
with the acquaintances. Not, you don't have to provide. Yeah,
Right,
that's like somebody you see like ever so often, and then you're like, well, yeah, I just don't see them anymore. Wish
right.
them well.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that was good. That was some good
it
stuff.
was.
Good
It
stuff.
was.
Good
It
stuff.
was.
And
It
the
was.
last set of our episodes, 1 and 2, we had a lot of part ones and part two.
Yeah,
This
we did. We did.
chapter
Yeah.
talking about online dating,
Mhm.
being
Mhm.
content, trying to get,
Yeah.
I guess, we had a young
Alicia.
friend,
Yeah.
Alicia,
Yeah.
come on, and she and I try to tag
Uh-huh.
team and try to
Yes.
get Ayana to go ahead and try it out.
I know. They were like the online dating gurus for that
Yeah,
program. It was nice because I
absolutely.
think like especially in the church, I don't find we talk about it, like the online dating. And especially for Black women, we don't it's not a conversation I hear often.
I think it depends on the generation,
Right, right. Well, at
depending
least
on the
it's
group,
my generation.
right?
It's
To
my
be honest,
generation.
the first time I heard about online dating were from people, older women, who
Mm,
found their spouse online, and I was like,
okay. Within
"Oh,
the church, like within
in
your
the
church?
church." I know
Oh
too.
wow.
We
Oh
all
wow.
and they married that person online.
Oh wow. Oh
And they
wow.
were
Do you
in the
know if they're
church.
still married? Like, do you know if they're
I know one is definitely still married. The
Oh
other,
wow.
I've lost contact with her,
Okay.
because I moved. This is when I used to live in Florida, in Tallahassee,
Mhm.
Florida, and so
Mhm.
I've lost contact with her, but at the time, they both were married,
Oh
um,
wow.
and had children,
Okay.
and all of that, and so one I'm still connected with them on Facebook, and I was like she was like, "Yeah," her and her husband, they talked about it, and one was, the guy was his second marriage,
Okay.
and, the woman, it was her first, and then the other
Okay.
couple, both of them, it was their 2 young people.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, one was a physician and one was a nurse, and they met online, realizing they had met before, and they had the same
Wow.
mentor. And so I
Okay.
know in the online dating, we talked about it as it's just another way to meet people.
Yeah.
Dating online doesn't mean it stays online. That's the danger of it. But
Right.
I'm meeting someone, and we started online, and then you take it offline, making sure
Yeah.
they're real persons and not bots.
And the truth is, like, I remember I signed on for an online thing many, many years ago, like over 20, almost 30 years ago, because online dating has been around for a
Mm,
while.
it has.
It's just that for the younger generation is more common. I'd say that. But it has been around for a while. You
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
um, it's just not my preference. But like I said, Alicia's my age group, my generation. She's totally okay with it. Me, not so much. So yes, they were trying to convince me.
Yeah. Not too sure if we succeeded, but we tried.
Yeah, but you
We
did. You
tried.
did open up my eyes to a lot of stuff. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
I wasn't too. I was the part where you're kind of trying to keep track of people. And shout out to Alicia too, who'll be listening.
Yes,
Thank you for
no,
sharing your stories and just your experience.
definitely.
And just being willing and open, because I think that's one of the things I love about her as my friend, that she's always so open to trying new things and being open to meeting people. And that's also a trait that Candy has too, this willingness
Mm,
to just meet people and experience new things. I mean, I like those things too, but there's a part of me that tries to avoid things that I can't control. But that's another discussion,
yeah.
so that may be
Mhm.
part of my hesitancy with the online dating.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, this was great. We did our
Mm.
review. Oh, last thing on online dating, I forgot we got some more comments. And I think right
Oh,
before we did this
okay.
about I guess our thoughts or my statement in saying about the churches
Oh, yes, because I was the only one talking about the church and the role of the church, and you two of you were like, Lisa were like, I don't.
like why, because I just feel that online when I see different stances that
Mhm.
are being made, it's always for or against,
Mhm.
and how is it godly or ungodly? And for me,
Mhm.
I've just viewed online dating as another way to meet people. There's
Mhm.
no is it right or wrong? Like
Mhm.
What are we saying here, right? Versus the church can have a stance on dating.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, I don't think the church should say yes or nay to online dating. I don't think there's a place for them. Like, why? Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Versus, no, give us godly counsel on just dating in general, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Online is just another place to meet someone.
Mhm.
Um,
So
but
based on that, the people within the church, because we at the church, did have some opinions on it.
yeah,
Contrary to what Alicia and Candy thought people should like, they were like,
yeah. But listen, you can meet crazy people online. You can
yes,
meet crazy people at the grocery store,
true,
at church, at
true,
work,
true.
at the gas station, even through mutual friends.
True.
I, I've
We
had
try to
people.
hook you up.
I had people who've done that to me, and
We need
like,
to do an episode
oh,
with just the hookups like the hookups that we've had through friends and family.
I've had a few. So, meeting different characters in different places, there should be some counsel just in general. But
Yes.
to this, identify just online dating. Um, I think if somebody's requiring the church to do that, you're doing too much. Doing too much. What? Let's talk
Says
about
Candy.
dating.
All right, so
These are my opinions. It's my opinion. But yeah, this was great. Chapter 3 is coming up. We're
yeah.
excited about chapter 3. We're looking forward to those things that are coming up. But hey, if you have a comment that you want to leave or want to leave a voice message about any of our episodes, please do so. Leave us a message or go back and rewatch an episode that you really like. And you know what other
Mhm.
thing to do? Here's another thing. I do have beef with some of our listeners. I do.
Really? What's the beef? You didn't tell me about this?
I have beef.
Uh-huh.
Subscribing and liking. Just like this first like on YouTube. We have
That's
so
true, and
many
it'll pop
views.
up on your feed whenever new
Yeah,
episodes come out, and our episodes have been coming out like every
yes,
week. Sometimes it's a
yes.
little, sometimes we are a little delayed. Like if it's like may not come out Monday, might come out Thursday, but we have episodes popping up, and we realize that you have been viewing the episodes. You're not leaving comments, but we're seeing our views increasing. So really, really appreciate that, and more so hoping that it helps you, right? That you're not
Yeah.
just enjoying it, but it's helping you in some way.
So the algorithm, like it. Put a comment. Great podcast. I actually had a cousin of mine. He put a great podcast. Thank you. But for everyone else, we know you're watching. Just like
And
it or stop
listening.
looking. You
Mhm,
know, we are
mhm.
we're not monetizing on your likes.
No,
It's just the
no.
algorithm. Help us to grow so that other people can
Yeah.
find us as well. And also that you can find us every time that we upload our next episode. So like, subscribe, share if you want.
And we do have international listeners, let me just say.
Yes, we do. Shout out to the island of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yay!
Every time we look at our algorithm, like, yep, they're there. They are there. Strong. Strong. So thank you to all of our viewers that watched us from chapter 1 now to chapter 2. And as we embrace chapter 3, we ask you to come along with us on this ride of exploring. I don't know, should we say what chapter 3 is, or we're going to do another episode
Well,
on
we can
that?
give a little hint. We can give a little hint, and then
We're
when
just
we
gonna,
start.
yeah. Well, chapter 3 is focusing on just dating.
Mm.
Mhm.
Something that I say I don't really like to do. So this is going to be interesting.
So yeah, we have some interesting guests lined up, funny
Uh-huh.
conversations, experiences. We want to
We're looking
hear
at generations, different, doing something
generations.
with generations as well.
Yes, definitely. Listen, dating while blank dot. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
There's
Dating
some people
while dot.
yeah. And we have some people who want to come on. So this is
Listen, if you have a story to share, an experience that you believe, I wish I knew. Nobody talks
That's
about
right.
this. Let's
That's
let's
right.
talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
bring it to the table. All
Yeah,
right.
and your experience is important because sometimes people are looking for the celebrities to grow their podcast, etc., or their programs, and we're saying, you know what, your experience is invaluable. Like your story can help someone else, and
Definitely.
so you're important to us. And you're just being
Definitely.
willing to share. You don't have to come and tell us from the time you were born or the time you were conceived. It's not like that. But definitely, if you feel like you know something that could help one of our listeners or Black, beautiful, brave listeners, then definitely come on. And as you see, it can be
Absolutely.
male or females. Right?
Definitely. We
Yeah.
look forward to our male perspectives that will come
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
we love to hear definitely from our other beautiful, Black, beautiful, and brave
Queens, our
women who will
queens.
join us and share their perspective as well. So
Yeah.
with that being said, we are Triple B.
Out.